Hey guys, just wanted to say that I split this podcast up into two parts. The first part is a little preview for Spider-Man Far From Home, where we rank our favorite Spider-Man movies going into it. And the second part is the spoiler-filled discussion, although I will give warning. I just want to go ahead and throw in one thing I forgot to add into the podcast is that Michael Giacchino's score on Far From Home is kick-ass. He gives Spider-Man his most definitive score since Danny Elfman did in the first two Raimi Spider-Man films. So shout out to Michael Giacchino, who delivered a good to great score in Spider-Man Homecoming, delivered an epic score in Spider-Man Far From Home. I also want to say that this was recorded in the car on the way to the movies, in the parking lot of the movies, and on the way home for the movies. So it's not pristine audio quality like we try to strive for on the Confirmed Epic podcast. So keep that in mind. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for clicking play. Thank you for clicking download. Enjoy the show.
Permission to come aboard.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
And here we go.
Live from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, welcome to a very special bonus episode of the Confirmed Epic Podcast, the official podcast of theepicreview.com, and proudly presented by the Geeks Worldwide Radio Network, also proudly featured on actionfigurebarbecue.com. That's actionfigurebarbecue.com with the barbecue spelled out. I, of course, am your host, The Real Brad Bell, and this is a very exciting bonus episode of the pod because I am currently on my way to see Spider-Man Far From Home, the 2019 sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming from director Jon Watts, the MCU follow-up to Avengers Endgame, and the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3. So, I just dropped Baby Harper off at my mother-in-law's house. I'm going to see it on a big IMAX screen here. Cannot wait to see it. I'm a huge Mysterio fan going way back to the Spider-Man animated series that used to come on Fox Kids, and I'm very, very stoked to see an actor the caliber of Jake Gyllenhaal play Mysterio on the big screen, even if he doesn't end up being a baddie and we get like a fresh MCU take on that iconic Spider-Man villain. I've been very, very excited for this movie for the past 3 or 4 weeks or so. So much so that I've been going back and rewatching every Spider-Man movie. So what that meant was I watched the Raimi trilogy, including Spider-Man 3. Yes, I also watched the two films with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man directed by Mark Webb. I watched Into the Spider-Verse, and I also watched Venom. So I watched all those movies and getting excited and pumped up for Spider-Man Far From Home. I should mention I maybe shouldn't be doing this, but I'm actually driving on my way to the theater. And I have a little mini review planned here to review Spider-Man Far From Home, but I kind of wanted to do it before and after so you could kind of see my excitement to see this film. And I kind of wanted to do a ranking, I guess it would be 1 through 8 here, of the Spider-Man movies so far. 8 because you got the 3 Raimi movies, you got the two Andrew Garfield movies, you got the 2007, was it 2017? It's hard to believe. It seems like it was longer than that. The 2017 Tom Holland Spider-Man, of course, Spider-Man Homecoming, and then you have Into the Spider-Verse and Venom. Let's rank these 1 through 8. I'm going to actually do something I don't do and go straight 1 through 8 instead of doing a reverse order. Number 1, Spider-Man 2, one of my favorite films of all time. Nothing will ever beat the dynamic that Raimi built up between Alfred Molina's Doc Ock and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Number 2 for me would probably be Into the Spider-Verse. The more and more I watch this movie, the more and more I love it. It captures the essence of the Spider-Man character so well. I really, really love what Jake Johnson did with his take on Peter Parker and building that relationship with Miles, and can't wait to see more from those films, especially like the scene at Aunt May's house. I won't spoil it here because I'm not trying to spoil Into the Spider-Verse. My number 3 would be the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man. The performance by William Dafoe, who just knocks it out of the park as the original Green Goblin in that film. And that movie was just so revolutionary following that first Fox X-Men film at the time. It really set us on the path that we are on now for superhero movies. My number 4 would be the Amazing Spider-Man, the Andrew Garfield film from 2012, directed by Mark Webb. The more and more I watch that movie, it doesn't matter if it was back in 2012 or now in 2019 when I just rewatched it, I really love it. I think I undervalued the relationship that was built up between Peter and the Lizard in that film, and it was just a very, very underrated superhero origin movie. Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man, maybe not the best Peter Parker, but the best Spider-Man ever to be on screen. We talked about that about 2 episodes ago on the Confirmed Epic podcast. So that would be my number 4. This is where it starts getting a little tricky. My number 5 would be Spider-Man Homecoming. I do think sometimes the MCU Spider-Man is weighted down a little bit by having to be a part of this bigger world, but the Michael Keaton moments in that movie, his performance as the Vulture, how they reveal that he is the Vulture to Peter Parker in that film, was one of the best moments in cinema of 2017. So that would be my number 5. My number 6 would be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This is a cheese fest, very Schumacher-ish, if you will. I really think that it's fun to watch Jamie Foxx chew the scenery as Electro, and it's got the best Spider-Man suit, on-screen Spider-Man suit, modeled after those classic big 90s Todd McFarlane eyes. Again, I'm doing a quick ranking here. I'm on my way to see the movie. We could talk about these movies for hours individually, and there are hours of reviews up on the epicreview.com if you go back into the podcast and archive. Wait, I think I want to change that. I think my number 6 is actually, because I'm going to include Venom in this. So my number 6 is Venom. That movie is just a hell of a lot of fun. It's probably about 15 years too late. Had that movie came out 15 years ago, I think people would have loved it even more than they did, although Venom has a ravenous kind of following, especially with 90s comic books fans, and that movie killed at the box office. And I mentioned Electro chewing scenery. Oh my God, Tom Hardy's having a hell of a time in that movie, and it just resonates to the audience and makes them have a hell of a time. I just finished that this morning. Michelle Williams, fantastic as always. Riz Ahmed, great at also chewing the scenery in that movie. The post-credits singers got me really excited for where that franchise goes. And I don't think it's blasphemy to say that I would love to see the Tom Hardy Venom square off with the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So Venom would be my number 6. We'll flip that with Amazing Spider-Man number 7. And then number 8 is the atrocious Spider-Man 3. I don't know how much more I can talk about this movie. It was the biggest pop cultural cinematic letdown of my entire life. You know the story. We all had the Venom shirts for the first 20 minutes. We're excited, and then all of a sudden we see Harry Osborn and MJ doing the twist. We see Peter Parker go goth and start just randomly dancing down New York streets, which is hilariously poked fun of in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So yeah, that would be my ranking now. We'll see where Far From Home fits into that ranking. I hope we get to see Spider-Man be Spider-Man and Peter Parker be Peter Parker. I'm really worried that it's going to be about how we view Peter Parker in the lens of carrying on the Tony Stark legacy and how he interacts with Robin from, what's her name? Robin from Colby Smulders, Robin from How I Met Your Mother, with Maria Hill and Sam Jackson's Nick Fury. I hope not. I hope we get to see the Zendaya MJ relationship and Peter Parker relationship kind of evolve further. I'm looking forward to that stuff. I'm interested to see, like, what's Molten Man going to be in this movie? Probably not much. What's Hydra Man going to be? That's a little bit bigger Spider-Man villain than Molten Man. So, yeah, I do think there's a lot to be excited for here. I'll check back in after the movie for a little mini review, probably like 10 to at most 30 minutes, probably not that long. So we'll be back.
So nice to finally meet you, Spider-Man.
You're Nick Fury.
Put some clothes on. Let's go for a ride.
Is he gonna be okay like that?
Might want to turn him over so he doesn't swallow his tongue.
I think Nick Fury just hijacked our summer vacation.
Awesome! You got gifts, Parker, but we have a job to do. Are you going to step up or not?
You're all alone. Your friends are in trouble. What are you gonna do about it?
You don't want any part of this.
Wow, just got out of Spider-Man Far From Home in IMAX, and I loved it. Like, I thought it was top tier Spider-Man. Like, if we were ranking it, I would say the only two Spider-Man movies better than this one are Spider-Man 2, which is one of my top 5 favorite films of all time, and I think a top 5 superhero movie of all time still to this day. And then Into the Spider-Verse, like, this is, if Spider-Man 2 is number 1, then Into the Spider-Verse is 2A and Far From Home is 2B. And it seems like, you know, audiences are kind of agreeing with that. I checked the Rotten Tomatoes, which I know RT is not the end-all be-all, but they have done a lot to verify their people leaving reviews and make sure it's people who actually have seen the movie rather than trolling the movie. I think the critical score at this point in time on opening day was 93%, which is great, but the audience score is 98%. This is a crowd pleaser for Spider-Man fans of all kinds. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. You know, if you are doubting going to see that, which you're listening to my podcast, you're probably never gonna doubt going to see a Spider-Man movie. But if you have any doubts, maybe I can wait for Blu-ray. Maybe I can, you know, wait for digital. You kind of have superhero fatigue after Endgame. I encourage you not to wait. Get out to theaters. See this now. There are some big spoilers. There are some big twists. This has 2 becomes his own hero, talking about Spider-Man, of course, the film begins to do that as well, and it happens about a little more than midway through, which they build up Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, in which all diehard Spider-Man fans and comic book fans were very skeptical of. Of course, we knew he was the villain, but they were playing him up to be like a mix of Doctor Strange and Iron Man from an alternate Earth. He is not that at all. He's a fraud, and that he reveals that to us about midway through the film. He's a disgruntled Stark employee who wants to go after Tony Stark's predecessor and secure the Tony Stark legacy for himself, the Mysterio hero, rather than leave it for Peter Parker's Spider-Man. And how it's revealed, it was revealed in a bar, and it's pretty clever and pretty funny, but I don't know, something about that kind of took me out of it. Of course, I gave this film a grade and a half, so it must not have done it too much. The way Mysterio moves, Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, the illusions, once it's revealed that he is an illusionist and he's using old Stark tech to do it and disgruntled Stark employees to do it, is just every time. I think there's 3 times in the back half of the movie where he puts Spider-Man through like classic Mysterio illusions, very similar to what Scarecrow does to Batman. And John Watts and Kevin Feige and Marvel just understand the Mysterio character so well, as they do all these characters so well. And every illusion he's put through is just, if you're a comic book nerd, it's pure joy. Pure joy. Everything about this film is the story of Peter Parker moving on from Tony Stark's legacy, and how nobody will ever be Tony Stark, including Peter Parker. The movie deals with those themes so well without shoving them in your face, as the trailer looked like showed may happen in this film, but ultimately didn't end up happening. So I'm overall pleased. The relationship with MJ and Peter, how that's progressed throughout the film. Zendaya's even better in this movie. She gets a lot more to do than she was Spider-Man Homecoming. I think this is a far superior film to Spider-Man Homecoming. I mean, they up the ante, they up the stakes like any good sequel does. It's a bigger, it's a world scale film. I don't mean world ending as like Thanos, but like as far as we're out in New York. Most of the action scenes and whatnot are in broad daylight. You get to see Spider-Man move, and it seems like it gets better with each movie. But of course, that's the CG and stuff progressing. And so if I was ranking Spider-Man movies now, if you count Venom, we have 9. I would go number 1, Spider-Man 2. Number 2, Into the Spider-Verse. As we said at the top, I would put this one at number 3. And then I would go the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I would go The Amazing Spider-Man. I would go Spider-Man Far From Home. I would go Venom. And I would go Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then, of course, still last is Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3. I'm actually on my way to pick up my daughter now from my mother-in-law. She was gracious enough to watch her while I went and saw Spider-Man Far From Home. Let's talk about the post-credit stingers. So again, we're in spoiler territory. Amos, my buddy Amos, the Just Being Amos podcast, always likes to make clear in spoilers here. So the mid-credit stinger is a video that Mr. Quentin Beck, Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio took right before his death. He bites the dust, unfortunately, in this film. I would have liked to have kind of seen that character maybe later on at some point in the MCU, but not going to happen. He recorded this video. He got it out and leaked it to the dailybugle.net. I'm not sure if he leaked it to the dailybugle.net, maybe the Associated Press. Nonetheless, there's Spider-Man. So now the whole world knows, and I can't imagine what that's going to do to the MCU as a whole, specifically Spider-Man as a whole. I'm excited. I'm more excited for the future of this character than I was coming out of either Infinity War or Endgame, coming out of Civil War, even, and coming out of Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm so excited for this take. And then we get a reveal in the post-credits scene that Maria Hill and Nick Fury weren't Maria Hill and Nick Fury. It was Talos, a Skrull, Ben Mendelsohn from Captain Marvel, and it was another Skrull. I believe it was supposed to be his wife. And then he's talking to the real Nick Fury, who's on board some kind of space vessel surrounded by Skrulls. It almost looked like it could be the SWORD space station. Like maybe Nick Fury has evolved. Since S.H.I.E.L.D.'s a thing of the past, the evolution of S.H.I.E.L.D. is SWORD. I mean, we don't get Abigail Brand or any of that stuff, but now that we have maybe SWORD and we have Nick Fury working with the Skrulls, and the Skrulls are embedded within our society, are they hinting at secret invasion? I don't think that's what they were going for here, but you definitely can't rule it off the table. Also, take it off the table moving forward. Now that we know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man in the MCU, think of the organic story possibilities. Think about how that's going to change villain motivation. Think about how that's going to change the view of his classmates, and how that's going to have such an impact on his relationships with Aunt May, with Mary Jane, Zendaya. I mean, not only did this movie deliver in everything it was supposed to do, but it pushed and evolved this version of Spider-Man so far that I'm just so excited coming out of this movie. You know, Endgame was bittersweet because it was one of the most epic movies you'll ever see, specifically superhero movies. But it almost feels like a death because you lost so many of the characters you love, and you know that this is the end of an era. Where this feels like we're in the new era of the MCU now, in particular with this first post-credits stinger. We don't know what's next for the MCU. of things, think back to the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, that I could see Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio being this Iron Man, Doctor Strange hybrid, in which, hell, the next Avengers movie, when they say Avengers Assemble, he's assembled. Like, they could have went a straight hero route with Mysterio. They could have went that way, they didn't, they went more classic, so I'm completely fine with that. But if you want to see more on this, I know there's going to be Just Being Amos podcast sometime in the next few days after he sees this movie. We'll dive into it more in depth. This is just a little mini review for me. Wanted to get this out there. Wanted to give you an extra bit of content because I'm trying to be consistent before I go out on vacation or down to Polly's Island, our annual trip. So this will be the last you hear from me for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, but I will be back. You can always find the Confirmed Epic podcast at its official home, the Epic Review. That's thepicreview.com, on the Geeks Worldwide Radio Network, thegww.com, and on actionfigurebarbecue.com. That's actionfigurebarbecue spelled out .com. And once again, from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, with the windy air conditioning blowing in the car, we are out.
That's all I have to say about that.
This has been a production of the GWW Radio Network. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, check out Geeks Worldwide at thegww.com for all the latest news, reviews, and opinions on video games, comics, movies, TV, cosplay, and more. Geeks Assemble!
Roll out.